Hi everyone, Tony here. Today I'm gonna do or start a project. I'm actually not gonna finish it one day. I have it all mapped out and it's likely to take me, I don't know, 3 days maybe, and probably intervals of maybe 4 hours or so at a time. I do have to sell houses and work with clients, but I have been procrastinating for quite a bit. So here's what my project is, and before I get started, I just want to say I'm not a professional plumber or pipe fitter or anything of that nature. I did take a look at the City of Chicago code for permits and stuff like that as it relates to water heaters, and I feel pretty confident that I am okay to do this. Basically, when you own a home, you're allowed to do certain appliance repairs and things of that nature, including water heater replacements, as long as they're, you're just changing them. I am changing, and I'm making a slight modification, but nothing that should rise to the level that I need a permit, based on my understanding of what I read. So here's what's going on. I have here a water heater that was installed in December of 2001 by yours truly, and this water heater has a 12-year warranty. So 2001, it's 2019 and the year, so probably comparable time, about 18 years. It's about how long it lasted. So you can see here, 12-year warranty, it went over 6 years. And this water heater was actually manufactured in 2000. It has been fine, and I can continue to use it for a little bit longer, but I'll be honest, I have been procrastinating for quite a while. It has been leaking. You can see here I have a mop. I routinely come down here and I effectively dry the area, and I've been doing this for a little bit, and shame on me, I should not be that lazy, but I also have not found the time to do it, and I tried hiring somebody, but when I saw the price tag, I was like, yeah, that ain't happening. All right, so here's what I'm replacing that water heater I showed you downstairs with. This is a state-of-the-art, high-efficiency tankless water heater. So it'll help conserve space, it'll help conserve energy, and altogether it's supposed to save me, it says here, about $1,100 over the course of 12 years, which is what the warranty is, I believe, on these tanks. It might be a little bit more.
Does it save you from your wife being mad that you put it on the dining room table?
Whatever. Here's a receipt of what I paid for it. So I paid, thanks to Menard's 11% discount, I paid $1,261, of which I should be receiving a rebate of $125. So I want to say I paid about $1,150, and that includes this special kit that allows for some of the valves and shutoffs and stuff to be installed with a little bit less work. By the time you do the math, it just makes sense to get these things, and I'll show you what's in here. It basically has the shutoffs and drains for the water heater on the cold side and the hot side, so that you can clean it and maintain it, which I intend to do this time, because last time I didn't service it not once. You're supposed to drain them and get rid of the mineral deposits so that they last longer. If I would have done that, I probably could extend it for another 3 or 4 years, hence the corrosion. So this is the bad boy, I'm replacing it. Richmond happens to be a brand that it's an offshoot of Rheem. Is it Rheem actually? Yeah, I believe it's Rheem. They're one of those brands. I think, yeah, it's Rheem. And what they did is they basically create off-brand so that other stores can show it. If you were to buy this water heater at Home Depot, it would be a Rheem. If you buy it at Menards, it's going to be a Richmond. At Lowe's, it might be something else. Basically, they're all the same thing, just branded differently. And they have the exact same energy efficiency, blah, blah, blah. Just a different name on it. But so let's give this a shot. This is supposed to be sufficient for my home. It's supposed to be able to accommodate for, I believe, 3 baths or up to 4 bathrooms. And it provides 9.5 gallons of water with natural gas. And it's also designed to work in the Midwest or in Chicago, where the winters can be a little cold. And what that means is the city water coming in will come in at colder temperatures. Therefore, the water heater has to be able to heat it beyond that, so it's adequate temperature for hot water. So all right, let's start with step 1. Step 1 is going to be installing a board so that I can mount this thing on it. So I will do that directly onto the masonry, and I'll show you where I'm doing it. The first step is pretty simple. You basically have to support the structure or the heater with plywood. The instructions call for plywood. Even if you were putting it in between the joists or in wall, it still requires you to have a piece of plywood in the back. I cut out a 2-foot by 3-foot piece of plywood, which I will show you here. Hold on. And I basically mounted it right on the masonry. Pretty straightforward and simple, to be honest. I was expecting to have a harder time. I got a masonry bit, went through, drilled 4 holes with some washers just to hold it all in. I added a couple of shims just to hold it in place and make sure that everything was leveled. And so now the next phase is mounting the water heater. All right, day number 2 of water heater replacement. So I have to drill holes to come out with the ventilation because it's a high efficiency. It's going to need direct ventilation from the outside. It'll need an intake and an exhaust from the exterior, which means I have to drill a hole through the masonry, and as a result of that, I needed to clear up some of our ivy, which we really love. And for those that have wondered and have said to me, oh, the ivy will damage the brick, look at this brick. This brick looks really good, nice and solid, straight, everything is intact, nothing looks like it needs some attention. If you look closely, you'll see that these little suckers here, they basically are what hold up the ivy and what allow them to draw moisture and attach themselves to the brick. So it's actually kind of good for the brick from what I've read, especially with this particular vine that I have, which is called the Boston ivy. So anyway, all of that to say, ivy had to be cleared out so we can have space and allow for proper ventilation, because you don't want to have, plants suffocating the intake and the exhaust from the water heater.
So when you said we are clearing the ivy,
My assistant over here and I are clearing the ivy.
which part of the clearing are you doing?
Psst, go away. Okay, so you see here I've made 2 of these elbows. They're not glued or anything. I just cut a 5-piece and a 4-inch, just enough so that I can go up and out and hit the concrete. And I have this template that's going to be part of this finishing piece on the exterior. So it'll allow me to measure the holes and to kind of make sure that they're aligned, so that when I drill the holes, they're basically parallel to each other, and it'll be a smooth finish. So here's what it looks like up here. You can see up here, I have 2 pieces of PVC that are going to be used as kind of to measure. And what I do is I take them up like this, I put them up like that, and then I put them into the hole all the way down, and then I use them to set the area in the back where I'll know where my hole is. So this will be the permanent position once it's done. The only difference is I'm going to take this piece here at the end that goes through the wall, and I'll replace that with one that goes all the way through to the exterior, and that'll be cut at the end.
3.
All right, so the next thing to do here now is I have everything mounted. I have outlined the area where I'm going to drill. So now I got to actually remove this guy. So I'm taking the 2 screws on the bottom that hold the thing in place, and I'll lift up, take it off the bracket, and go set it down somewhere where it's going to be out of the way, so that I can then come back in here and drill the holes and not have all kinds of dust and stuff land on the actual heater. So that'll be the next phase. So I got the 2 holes out, now it's gonna get removed, and then this area will be more accessible. It's very possible I might have to remove this little exhaust thing here. Not the end of the world, just a couple little screws. It'll come apart and that'll give me some space to work so I can use the drill. And it won't be a regular drill. I'm going to use a very heavy duty kind of masonry one. I'm going to use 2 1/4 inch bit that's going to go straight through so it's nice and clean, and I don't have to worry about chiseling things out. And of course that's going to require me to go rent the machine because I don't have it. I would buy it, but my wife doesn't let me because she
We're
says
not buying any more.
I waste too much money, blah blah blah.
Oh, look at tools.
Alright, this is what it looks like. This is the pilot hole. That's the drill bit he used for that. And now that it's come all the way through, we gotta tap it back so he can pull it in. And then he's gonna come do the other one. And then we'll do the outside drilling. Here I go. And we're through. There's pilot hole number 2. Tony got a little over anxious pulling the drill bit through. Yeah, babe.
Can you tap it towards me a little bit? Because that little extra piece, I sent it back in. So just tap it in so I can
I'm
pull
helping you with the vlog.
Yeah.
I'm super helpful.
I gotta get one.
No.
Yeah. I got insurance in case I broke it.
Yeah, big one off.
All right, back to. Okay. Right.
Can we see?
Yeah. That's the inside of the house.
You made a huge mess in there, didn't you?
Yes, I did. All right.
What's next?
Next one. We gotta do the next one. All right, so the next thing to do here, now that I've drilled the holes, is to connect these PVCs. Basically, it's 290s, 290-degree angles, and it's gonna go straight up. So I think I did like 6 inches or something like that, and then went straight back. So now I have 2 big pipes in the back. I gotta measure and cut. Once I have the right size and everything's fitted, then the next piece of it would be to cut it all, glue it together, and attach it permanently. Then I would have to come in here and put a little bit of mortar just to fill it in, and maybe a little bit of caulk just to make sure that there's no leaking and for efficiency. So I'll do the same on the exterior. The cut on the exterior, because I came from the outside, is much cleaner. So I really won't need to do much there except just put a little silicone and the cap, which will make it look nice and finished. I'll show you on the outside. All right, so now I'm doing the finishing piece here of the ventilation cap. I had 2 pipes, I measured them. When it's all said and done, this cap will come on here, and it will obviously allow it to look finished, and it'll allow for intake and for escape. This is what it will look like. So right now I'm doing the holes. I also have to put some silicone on the outside of the PVC, and in some cases on the interior I think I'll have to do a little mortar just to make it look finished. Just a little bit off. See, now it'll sit a little bit better. about too much pressure on this external part. It'll be perfect. Since you last saw me, I was working on, I drilled the PVC, I connected all of those fittings. I think you saw me glue those with contact cement. I think all of that's fine. I've since then attached these, I thought, rather than, when you buy these water tanks, they sell these tankless heater valve kits, which are kind of cool because they have shutoffs, they have unions, they have the, what's it called, pressure relief valve, and then they have 2 cleanouts in case in the future I want to clean out the system to kind of help it last a little bit longer. So I added this PVC connection here. It ties now to the floor drain in the back, and the condensing unit. Both of these connect to it in the back, and I put the flexible hose with a clamp that goes down to it, so it's all nice and neat, and it'll be out of the way, and it'll be less likely that somebody will trip on it. I added these 2 valves, tightened them in, fastened them. They're still kind of, I've left the coupling here provisionally because I still have to connect everything else. And I'm really at the point where I've also done the gas up to there. The next step is for me to get rid of this water tank. But before I do that, I'm trying to get as far away as I can, as ahead as I can. This is the kit that I bought for the water tank with the valves and everything. They're pretty easy. They come in. There's 2 of them. They come with a little pressure relief valve, which the water heater also came with, so that was a duplicate. So now I'm going to attach these threaded PVCs to the water heater and leave everything connected so that when I get rid of this, the only thing that I have left to do is essentially tie the bottom end of this to my water supply and the bottom end of that to my return, and then, or to my supply, I should say, supply, and then the water output side. And then the gas line will be connected, and I'm leaving those things till the very end. Once I drain the tank, get it out of the way, I'll be able to make those connections. So now I gotta weld. Okay. Welding. So the first thing you do when you're about to weld is you take one of these little cleaners, you take your pipe, and you basically scrape the top end, get it nice and clean. Then you take one of these guys, you can clean the interior of the pipe and make sure that everything's nice and clean. Then you add flux. This stuff you have to be very careful with. You can get an infection if you get it under your skin. But speaking from first-hand experience, haven't been dealt with it in the past. Anyway, you take this stuff, you put it all on the pipe, and you put it on the fitting, and this is what helps the lead or the solder spread. Then you simply heat your pipe, and so. Water tank has been drained, so here's what I did. I shut off the water supply. I left the hot water in the upstairs on so that I can draw air from there as I was venting. Then I disconnected the gas. First I shut it off here while it was all plugged in, and then I opened this little connector here to allow the water tank to drain. And essentially what happens is, as no water's coming in, it starts drawing air, and it just gradually drains to the point where it stops. And you should hear like hissing upstairs. Well, it's done now. So then I cut the pipes to cut one here on that side, and intentionally cut it a little bit longer because I want to maybe use that pipe as part of my my overflow here. So there's no sense in me spending money on copper when I have some copper here. So now this baby is empty and it's light. As you can see, it's not super light, but it's definitely movable. So now got to get this guy out and put the connections in and go on to step 2 or step whatever
All
this
right,
is.
tell the fans what we're working on now.
All right, so now I'm checking my water, my wells, to make sure everything's good. I did a soapy water. I did that on all the little fittings here to make sure there's no gas leak. With some soap in all the fittings. You can also get a tester if you want. But then you test to make sure that there's no gas leaks. So you can see I put a brand new shutoff right there. I also have a secondary shutoff here. So if I wanted to remove all of this stuff here, I can turn it off there, service the machine, or service it here. And I did that because in case I ever wanted to add something.
1, 2, 3. Tell us what we're doing.
Well, I'm just running a little gradual opening up of all the water.
There's water coming out over here, Italian.
It's okay, that's the water. The pipes out. So I connected everything and it was going well. Almost everything is fine, all my wells were fine. But this little fitting here for some reason was leaking a little bit. Not the end of the world. I had to remove it, check the thread, make sure everything's good. I think I just didn't put enough of this Teflon tape. And now I'm gonna clean it, make sure it's all lined up. And get it back going. Hopefully it'll be nice and tight and it won't leak this next coming time. All right, so it looks like I'm almost done here. I've hooked everything up. I temporarily hooked up the electricity to my furnace. Believe it or not, these things don't really require much in the way of electricity. They just say regular outlet, no special dedicated connection. My brother's an electrician, so I'm just gonna have him come out here and hopefully he'll put one out for me. Otherwise I'll do it myself. But to be honest with you, I hate electricity. So, and there's a story for that. But gas line's hooked up, looking good. We got a shut-off valve there. We got another one here. The water lines and everything are connected. There's no leaks right now. Everything's looking good. It's connected to the old setup back there. So now it's time to test it. And you'll see if the water actually heats on demand. First, you have to clear out all the water from the pipes. When you're installing new appliance and stuff like that, it takes a little while for the water to get through. And now I feel the hot water coming through. Now I have it set at 100. I'm gonna increase the temperature, but not bad. And this is the old guy getting ready to go to the garbage. I'm probably gonna dissect it to see what it does inside. I'm really curious to see where it leaked. All right, Carmen just tested it. She's turning it on. She's making some noises. Sounds very official. I changed the temperature to 110. So when you do a job like this, obviously you got to keep an eye on things for a little while because you never know, you may have missed something. So far, so good. The moral of the story here is that you can do it. Maybe. This was hard, but not so hard. I think most people can handle jobs like this if they're handy, if they've worked on cars and things of that nature. I certainly wouldn't recommend it for somebody who's never tried something like this. I have actually done pipe fitting, I've done welding, I've done electrical work, I've done PVC work, most of the stuff that I've done is transferable, so and it's really not the end of the world. But for those of you that haven't, maybe you want to do a little bit of research beforehand and make sure you think of all the possibilities before you start. So anyway, I'm tired, but I can now finally take a nice hot water shower